Hello lovely Capricorns and welcome to the 2026 horoscope. I am a Capricorn rising myself, so I'm doing this horoscope and kind of realizing things about myself and the year coming ahead as well, which is quite exciting. As I've mentioned with the Capricorn rising, I would watch this if you are a Capricorn rising. If you're a Capricorn sun or moon, you can still watch it, but it will not be accurate when it comes to houses. So if you're watching as a Capricorn sun and you have an Aquarius rising, please note that the houses are not accurate and it's at your own discretion that you're watching it for that. You can watch for CERN if you resonate with it more or you want to watch for your ambitions and goals and your mood for your mood and feelings, but it is geared towards Capricorn rising. So just want to put that out there first. So today I'm going to talk about the key themes of the year, a reflection on 2025, some of the most important transits for 2026, a snapshot of the months based on topics, so sort of ranking the months, and then a little bit of a look on the nodal change. I'll then do a very quick flick through the months, and then I'll come to do a section on the eclipses. And the reason why I'm not making this super in depth when it comes to talking about every single full and new moon and going through the months in depth is because I do have a PDF that's available on my website, and that goes through every single full and new moon, what it means for you, how it harkens back to the last moon in that particular sign, but also I've spread it out. So it's the best strategic aspects for you based on love, hobbies, travel, leisure pursuits, for example, career, self-development and finance. So if you're not interested in love, you don't have to watch for that. You can watch for something else, right? So I've tried to tailor it to everybody, and I have a PhD in strategic advantage. So I'm able to look at things and say, I think strategically, this particular transit, this aspect is going to help with this particular thing. I've kept it pretty cheap. I'm not sure exactly as filming what I'm going to price it as, but probably around sort of £10, $13. Again, not expensive. And the whole thing itself is pretty long. I think it's 100+ pages. So that is the reason why I'm not going to focus too much on everything in detail, but I'm going to talk about the eclipses and I am going to give you the themes. So to talk about the key themes for you, Capricorn, there is a rumination on your family in a child and living situation. And this has been going for quite some time because this element is largely due to Chiron being in Aries, and because of that it's got you thinking about the trauma surrounding family and maybe how you grew up as well. I resonate with this a lot, but actually Chiron will be moving into Taurus, so after a few years that it's been in Aries, it's moving into Taurus, and that'll be in the 5th house. So that's a little bit more about how you express yourself. So if you feel very trapped, or you feel like you're not very fun, or you feel creatively stifled, or there's something like I never had any dating prospects, or I don't feel like I've got any dating prospects, Chiron is going to get you to deal with those situations. There's also going to be sudden changes with creative projects, dating, and maybe some events that are a little bit more risky or get you out your comfort zone because Uranus will be in Taurus. So in November of 2025, Uranus retrograded back into Taurus and out of Gemini. And so Uranus, which has been in Taurus before July 2025 for a year or two, had really been quite volatile for the world because Uranus is debilitated in Taurus, whereas it does a lot better in Gemini due to Uranus being more of an upper octave of Mercury. So when Uranus is in a particular house, it will bring sudden change, shocks. It doesn't have to be bad, but it also doesn't mean it's good either. It depends on the aspect it's making and the particular house. I always say that whatever house Uranus is in is a bit dodgy because it's Uranus, right? And it really feels like that's a planet that is going to do what it wants, basically. Then Uranus will finally settle back into Gemini, and that would be in the 6th house of physical health and work environment. So work environment can change, who you're working with, different colleagues. Physical health can be up and down, not necessarily bad, but it definitely gets you to look at stress a little bit more. Again, because I'm a Capricorn rising, I really can speak from experience here, that whenever something is in my 6th house, it does affect my physical health. I've had, when Jupiter was in my 6th house, I had problems with my back, and I never had problems with my back. Now that Uranus moved into the 6th house, I felt that I was really obsessed with trying to put on muscle and lose weight, and I found that I had high cortisol levels, and I'm trying to sort out hormonal issues and whatnot, so it can affect you in that way. It can also bring a little bit of surprise if you have animals or pets as well, and generally also a sense of duty. And I think you might also find that you're a little bit more like, yeah, I'm not going to die on the sword for this person anymore, that's for sure. You also have luck with love, commitments and extension of contracts because Jupiter will still be in Cancer in the 7th house for the first half of the year. And, I think it's interesting with this particular house because you might get one thing, you might get all, it depends. So for me, I definitely got extension of contracts straight from the get-go. and continue to do so. I definitely feel like I'm getting closer to making decisions and committing to things as well. So there's certain elements with this that feel very lucky, but you have to remember that Jupiter is not a lottery ticket. It simply gives you opportunities and makes it easier for you to achieve certain things in that house. So if you wanted love, it's not going to fall into your lap, but if you were to go out there and really put yourself out there, Jupiter would give you the opportunity because it would just put you in the right place at the right time. The second half of the year is a little bit more dicey. Again, this is what I'm not really looking forward to. It's really good abundance for investments and intimacy. So if you're investing in the stock market like I am, then this is really good. You might see a return, and it's quite good for expanding a bond with somebody intimately. But the 8th house is also a very difficult house for Jupiter to be in, and I'm not going to lie about that because it's also the house of rebirth and loss. So that can be like the birth of something, like, yeah, but it's also the loss of something. I'm a bit dicey about the 8th house. It's such a multifaceted house that is so hidden that it's hard to pin down what it really means sometimes. So when Jupiter is in this house, it certainly gets you to question your transformation, your rebirth. And again, I'm kind of thinking, I really don't need much. I don't need any more rebirth. I don't need any more transformation. I'm quite the scholar and I don't need another lesson. You know, as a Capricorn rising, you're Saturn ruled, right? So we don't need any more lessons. I have a friend who's a Sagittarius rising who currently has this, Jupiter in the 8th house. And funny enough, she never got the relationship in the 7th house, but she got it in the 8th. And it was really funny because I said to her, I says, I bet, it was sort of the changeover. I said to her, Jupiter often gives its final gift before it leaves the sign. And she actually, around that time, was when she got this relationship, out the blue, I might add. Really, like, she wasn't looking for it. Or like I said, she put herself in a position where she was out with a friend and then it was right place, right time. And then it goes into the 8th house. And at the moment, now what she's having is an issue with trusting and having vulnerability there. Because the 8th house deals with trust and vulnerability. So I'm not sure if someone's lying to me kind of energy. So the reason why I'm saying this is because Jupiter can expand and it can bring abundance, but remember that it'll expand the bad things too. Then you'll be aligning with financial matters and material assets and self-worth with the 2nd house, which is the North Node moving into Aquarius from Pisces. You also are not new to this either because Pluto in Aquarius in the 2nd house will be hitting you too. Also releasing issues with savings, debt, intimacy issues, and then battling a sense of codependency or obsession in that 8th house. And the reason why I'm gearing it more towards obsession and codependency is because I'm just using some of my own experience here about what the 8th house could really mean. I want to try to cater to all audiences. Some people watch me, they're retired. Some people are knee deep in a situation, a romance, and some people have been single forever. So take what resonates here. Then you'll be aligning with communication and projects, and then rebalancing travel, spirituality, and higher learning, which are reoccurring themes from 2025, which I always find interesting as well because this is due to the Virgo Pisces eclipses that are coming back in 2026. And of course, the 9th house is interesting here for higher learning. I'm always in an education environment, so I'm like, oh, what does this mean? Maybe I'm going to be continuing research or whatnot. So it's really interesting to see how this might play out for you. So the most important transits for the year, as I've kind of just briefly touched on, is the North Node in Aquarius in the 2nd house, South Node moving into Leo from Virgo in the 8th house, Jupiter in Cancer in the 7th, and then moving into Leo in the 8th, Uranus and Taurus in the 5th house, and Gemini in the 6th, Chiron moving from Aries in the 4th to Taurus in the 5th, and the lunar eclipses in the 9th and 3rd house for Pisces and Virgo, and then of course eclipses in Aquarius and Leo 2nd and 8th as well. So let's reflect on 2025. So as I mentioned, we had a North Node in Pisces in the 3rd, a South Node in Virgo in the 9th, and you had eclipses in these houses. You also had Neptune enter Aries for the first time in a couple of hundred years. This was the 30th of March, and then your 4th house of home and family. Neptune is interesting because it's a planet of collective consciousness and fascination, but also denial and delusion, and it's very foggy. So in Aries, it feels like you're getting angry because you can't see things or you don't have clarity. It's also very independent. So you try to break away from the crowd and you kind of do things on your own. In the 4th house, this is you setting up your family in the way that you believe it to be. So by that I mean is we often think that the family has to be your mum, your dad, your sister, your brother, kids, whatever. But actually family can be you and a dog. right? It could be you, your husband, or your wife with a dog. It could be you and a couple of friends. It could be anything, you and a cat, anything, right? What do you think family is? That's what Neptune gets you to really define. It also gets you to question as well, especially in your dreams. Neptune Aries will definitely give you dreams where you're reflecting on maybe ancestors and you're thinking, hang on, why is my grandma that passed away when I was a child coming back in my dreams, trying to teach me something about home? You also feel a bit delusional about home environment as well, like thinking you can buy a house and it'll go through in a month and everything is fine. It just gives you a bit of delusion. Saturn also entered Aries 30th of May as well in that 4th house, and so that will bring some constriction to the 4th house. Again, you might not find that you like your living situation, or you get things that topple onto you where you're like, okay, everything's really noisy, but the environment's weird, there's a lot of crime around, you just start to feel unsettled where you are, which gets you to reconsider the maturity of your decisions when it comes to home. So you might be thinking, well, I do want to actually move house, but I need to really think this and commit to this in the right way. And Saturn in Aries is debilitated, right? It's like trying to put a lasso around a bull, and Saturn's like the big daddy saying, you can't do this, and Aries like, you're not my mum. Like, yes, I am. Like EastEnders, you're not my mum. So that kind of energy comes through a lot in the 4th house as well. Also, the 4th house is quite hidden with subconscious elements as well. So alongside Neptune, which rules the 12th house of subconscious mind, these two really come together. And there can be some getting very serious about addressing your trauma once and for all. And I've certainly felt that as well. Also be mindful if you have a Saturn in Aries natally, then you're having a Saturn return. And this, even though Saturn went into Pisces, September of 2025, it will return to Aries in 2026, meet up with Neptune, and it will stay there for 2 years. Jupiter then moved into Cancer June the 9th in your 7th house of committed relationships. And this is a big reason why I have a theory, and other astrologers actually are coming around to this now, that someone like Taylor Swift, for example, who's a Sag Sun like me, is also a Cap rising, because she actually got engaged on the Jupiter-Venus conjunction in the 7th house of committed relationships and marriage. And I had this feeling as well, and they said, oh no, but the news came out way past it. And then Travis Kelce's dad came out and said, no, it was 2 weeks prior on the exact day. So I definitely think there's some energy going on there. Jupiter will expand contracts and commitments, so you might find you've got more responsibility as well, but also it will give you better opportunity for romance and love if you're looking for that. And again, if you're in a relationship, then a proposal or marriage, for example. Then Uranus moved into Gemini from Taurus, July 7th, so from the 5th house to the 6th, again bringing some shake-ups and invitation to the 6th house, so changing the way you do your gym routine, changing the way you work with others, maybe the way you approach things, and also changing your physical health routine by way of like, maybe I need to go to bed a bit earlier to manage my stress. Okay, so I'm going to briefly go through the months, and like I said, I'm not going to be super in detail here, but I'm going to talk about what is going to be important for you. So we kick off January with Mercury in Capricorn, January the 1st in your 1st house of self, which is a fantastic time to go after projects, to communicate your ideas really well, your sense of purpose and your goals, definitely in the workplace as well, or just to express yourself generally. We have a full moon in Cancer, January the 3rd in the 7th house, so committed relationships and contracts as well. So even, I get a bit annoyed when we have a full moon so close to the new year, because I'm like, could we not have had it in 2025, So 3 days later, like, could we not have? But this could be a release of relationships or a sense of idea of relationships or some kind of contract as well. Venus moves into Aquarius January the 17th in your 2nd house, which brings some harmony to money. It also gives you a sense of innovation when it comes to making money. So different ideas, a bit more creative and maybe slightly quirky as well. And then we have a really nice aspect here, which is the new moon in Capricorn, January the 18th in the 1st house of self. This is a really successful new moon generally in your 1st house of self. It really feels like using January as like the starting point. This is so funny as well, because January the 18th, again, because I'm Capricorn rising, so I'm associating with myself. This is like the day I'm leaving a holiday trip. So I go to Australia for like a month, then I'm coming back on this day, I think. Yeah, I won't go back to the UK, but I'm coming back and I'm like, this is the new moon where I'm like, I've had my holiday. This is like, now I'm ready for the grind and the new start and the new project. So this is generally quite successful about your identity and your goals as well. And then Sun and Mars in the 2nd house as well, again, bringing more motivation to making money, more motivation to looking after yourself and really promoting a sense of self-care for yourself as well. Like I said before, Neptune enters Aries as well in the 4th house, bringing a bit of fogginess to home and family, but it will get you to refine what home and family means for you as well. February, full moon in Leo in the 8th house, really releasing some energy here as well, especially when it comes to the fact that we do have a lot of 8th house energy too. Again, I'm going to be quite vague here because, like I said, I've got a PDF that covers this. Uranus moving direct in Taurus February the 4th in the 5th house, so brings a bit of volatility and shock and change to dating, creativity, and maybe just taking a bit of a chance. Could even be children as well if you have them. Solar eclipse, new moon in Aquarius, which I'll come to talk about in the segment about eclipses. February the 17th in the 2nd house. New start with finances and very, it's kind of innovative, but this particular eclipse is quite judgmental. So it might be that you feel you're comparing a bit too much, but I will come to talk about that as well. Also, just to know, any moons, new or full, in Cancer, Aries, Libra or Capricorn, they will affect you because they'll be in your 1st, 7th, 4th or 10th house. And so look at the degree point. If you are seeing a moon and it says it's at 2 degrees, but you know you've got Cancer placements at 28 degrees, it probably won't impact you. So just be mindful of that. A lot of moons don't really impact people. I would say moons only really impact you if they're in your sign, they're within a particular degree point. Like I said, if they're in that set of modalities, or you're a Cancer rising or Cancer moon, which you'll just feel moons more. Venus moves into Taurus March the 30th in your 5th house, bringing some harmony to dating and creativity. And of course, Venus is actually domiciled in Taurus as well, so it's just nicer. Venus also rejoices in the 5th house as well, so it was always quite like that. April, we have full moon in Libra, April the 2nd, so anything from 10 to 19 degrees of Libra will affect you as a cardinal sign in your 10th house of career expression, and you know what you're well known for, what you're doing, projects you're working on, that kind of thing. Mars moves into Aries, which is domicile, April 9th in your 4th house. Might feel a bit motivated to get things done around the house during this time as well. And there's a lot of Aries energy this month, of course, because it's April. So you have Mars conjunct Neptune in Aries, Mercury in Aries, and a new moon in Aries. Again, all cardinal sign energy as well. So it does impact you. And Mars conjunct Saturn in Aries as well. Yeah. Again, I'm only really talking about what I'm like is glaringly like this is going to impact you. Pluto retrograde in Aquarius May 6th in the 2nd house. I find as a Capricorn rising at the moment, whenever Pluto retrogrades in Aquarius, I don't make as much money as I was before when it's direct. I don't know why. It just seems to constrict my finances a bit more. I don't know if it's because it stifles innovation, or I just find it just tends to be where I just don't feel like doing anything with that. I'm like, I don't really feel good about it. Confidence is a bit low as well with their self-worth in the 2nd house too. New moon in Taurus May 16th in the 5th house. Again, with Taurus, Venusian energy, very nice for creativity, a little flirty fun energy, children. Venus enters Cancer, well this is the big one. May 19th, the 7th house, beautiful for love. Venus is really nice in Cancer, it likes to be there. It's, yeah, I like this a lot, it's dreamy, it's quite a good. June is interesting as well because things change with Jupiter. We also have a lot of 7th house energy with Mercury in Cancer, the Sun in Cancer as well in that 7th house, Mercury retrograding in Cancer as well. So you might not be able to get your thoughts out with romance. You're feeling very nostalgic. You could be stuck in the past about an ex, for example, with this particular situation. And then of course Venus in Leo, and then Jupiter entering Leo in the 8th house. You're going to have that expansion of the 8th house as I mentioned. Who was talking outside there? It's so freaking loud. Sorry, there's someone outside that's like talking at like the only person in the world, which is not uncommon for around here. Okay, July, let's have a see. New moon in Cancer, July 14th, the 7th house, really beautiful new commitment to yourself as well. Mercury then goes direct in Cancer as well, so you're able to profess your love more if you want to, but also sign contracts as well in that 7th house. And full moon in Aquarius, July 29th, you might be paying off a debt or changing a financial plan. August, Mars enters Cancer, August 11th in your 7th house. Mars is considered to be in its fallen Cancer, so it's not really a good place for it to be in the 7th house as well. Can make you quite frustrated or angry about relationships, so you're like, why me? Or things are just not going your way. Just be careful about keeping yourself emotionally regulated during that time as well. Especially because there's a solar eclipse new moon in Leo, August 12th in the 8th house, which is very angry and very defensive and quite competitive as well. So you're definitely going to have to keep your emotions on an even keel. And then we've got that awful full moon in Pisces in the 3rd house again. Oh, the one I had last year was just, oh my God. I think that's what started my physical health issues, you know, because I was so stressed. I think my cortisol went up so high that it never came back down again. Talk about ending a communication. I was like, what is going on here? Yeah. Glad to see the back end of those eclipses, I'm telling you that. September. Mars enters Leo September 28th in the 8th house. I think that's the only thing I'd say is really notable here. Feels like it's a fiery, passionate motivation to invest and to save. It's like aggressive saving as well. And I'd also say, coupled with Mercury and Scorpio in the 11th house, it's also trying to connect with people in a certain way. You might feel isolated or lonely beforehand, and so you're trying to, you know, find a sense of community with people here. October, Venus and Mercury retrograde in Scorpio in the 11th house could have some issues with friendships here, some arguments, some disagreements. Again, feeling a little bit lonely perhaps as well. And I think with the full moon in Taurus, October 26th as well, you're kind of trying to release some regret here and trying to just live for you as well. You know, there's a sense of like trying not to feel too constricted, because that then can make your mood go down as well. Okay, November. Mars conjunct Jupiter in Leo, November 16th in the 8th house is good for really trying to bring some fire to expanding an element with your finances, or with Mars, which is rules of sex drive as well, and then the 8th house really going for some intimacy, having a bit of spicy time, or just being like, I fucking love you, and getting it all out. I think that energy is, yeah, that could be interesting. God, I wish I could do that, but I'm too chicken. December. Yes, Saturn and Neptune both go direct in that 4th house. I'm not happy to have these in my 4th house. Also, why does Neptune have to be in the 4th house for like 15 years? Do you not think we've had it bad enough with Pluto being in our 1st house itself? Why have I got to deal with family issues? Like I haven't had that my whole life, do you know what I mean? I hate it when they do this. Full moon in Cancer, December 24th, Christmas Eve, if you celebrate, 7th house as well, so releasing some contracts. So you might be like, I'm going to release the commitment that I had to doing this particular thing and then starting afresh for 2027. And then, of course, Mercury enters Capricorn, just like the start of 2026 in your 1st house itself, and you're able to really go for it. I really like that Capricorn really takes over December and January, because I think that's when we need that hustler kind of mentality, the boss-ish energy. Okay, so I'm going to rank the months. So January is the best month for defining your goals for the year, as I just mentioned. February is the best month for creativity. March is the best month for having an expansive view on life and seeing the bigger picture, or having a different kind of perspective on life. April is the best month to be productive. May is the best month to get active with just giving it your all and putting a lot of focus into your projects. June is actually the best month to focus on relationships and love. Again, if you're not interested in that, it'll be something that you're trying to make a decision about. July is the best month for making said big decision. August is the best month to really slow down and just like sit on a hammock and eat an apricot type of energy. September is the best month to focus on a bit of everything. October is the best month to reconsider your friendships and kind of what you're doing for the world as well. Like, you know, morally, where do you stand in the world? And, you know, Capricorns can be quite philosophical too. November is the best month to be social, start anew with friends, especially because the October retrogrades might have caused some issues with friendships. And then December is the best month for a new start, and that's not a cop-out. Generally, there is some energy here that feels very fresh and new. Okay, so I'm also just going to talk about the change of nodes as well. So North Node moving from Pisces to Aquarius, South Node from Virgo to Leo, July 27th, 2026 to March 26th, 2028. You have the North Node in the 2nd house and the South Node in the 8th house. So you have rags to riches to memories of a king. So what do I mean by this? So if you're having, if you've got this in your birth chart, then you're having a nodal return. If you have the opposite, you're having a reverse nodal return. So some astrologers will say that the North Node is your purpose in life. And I'm not going to discredit that, but I think it's more about the direction of travel and a spiritual purpose rather than your overall life's mission or life's purpose. So with nodes, the North Node into the 2nd house in Aquarius as well, which is very about morals and values and humanitarian, standing up for others, but also very innovative. It definitely would allow you to make money on social media or using some kind of technology. Kind of funny, again, I'm a Cap rising and I work in technology and I also use social media, but it's also about your morals and values. So you might come to realize, and actually I'm already having this now, what's the point of having money if you can't do anything with it, you can't help somebody? Sometimes I think that I'm like, what do I need all this money for? You know, so you have that reconsideration of your spiritual purpose towards maybe giving more money to charity, or being like, okay, I only want to make money if it's the right way to make it. And again, you might also find with the second house, again with self-worth as well, that you feel a lot more more fulfilled when you're helping other people. And I can certainly feel that because I really just want to help people. That's definitely my life purpose. The South Node is the memories of a king. So this is when you had your life of luxury, sat there being fed grapes in the 8th house as well. This is hedonistic. You know, you might have been in Lothario. It's like I'm like rabbits kind of energy, you know, just gonna be hedonistic, kind of like, you know, Greek gods that just did whatever the hell they wanted, right? So that kind of energy. It's also generational wealth as well, so coming from generational wealth and not having to worry about money. Whereas in this life, it's like, I am gonna have to build myself from the ground up. You know, I'm going to have to work and toil for my money. You might find that your affirmations are really important for you and that you can just make money out of thin air because you're actually trying to let go of that South Node energy. So when you have to release energy in the South Node, especially in Leo, which is very dramatic, but it also rules the heart. So it's quite passionate. Someone says to you, oh, you're only this because of daddy's money. I find it very hard for anyone to be like, yeah, I am. You get really annoyed. You're like, no, I've worked hard. And you know, it's what kind of energy where you have to just understand what you're here for, what you're contributing to the world, basically. In short. Okay, let's look at the eclipses. So we have a solar eclipse in Aquarius, February the 17th, in your second house of income and finance. This is an incredibly judgmental eclipse. It is a little bit pointed. It's also having to have one up on somebody else. So it's a little bit like fighting for money, but you might also find that you have a sense of, if I don't fight for this, it's going to run away. It's like a bit of a lack mindset with money. You might also find that you're defending yourself from others trying to, like, you know, walk all over you and, you know, basically assume that you've got no self-respect, which we know is also not true. And this is taking place at 28 degrees, which is the 3rd decan of Aquarius, and that is associated with the 7 of Swords, which is a bit about being resourceful, thinking on your feet, finding new ways to make money. This is a supercharged new moon, the solar eclipse as well, so it's not releasing. We are thinking about new ways to make money, but also thinking about how we can exploit projects and fields and industries and areas where we can make more money as well. You also have Jupiter and Cancer in the 7th house, trying the North Node in Pisces in the 3rd house. So, you know, communication and getting things locked down becomes really important, but also your intuition about what you're communicating and things that you're saying. You might find yourself feeling very mentally vibrant during this eclipse, and it's almost encouraging you to have a deeper sense of trust in yourself, especially with the words that you're saying and your projects, because the 3rd house is definitely about projects. It might be a new solar eclipse where you're trying to say to yourself, if I do this project, if I have faith in myself, I can actually get this locked down and I can make money from it too. So it feels a bit like Ikigai, like what am I good at? What does the world need? And what can I make money from? Sun and Moon in Aquarius in the 2nd house, also squaring Uranus and Taurus in the 5th house as well. So you want to make money through something quite fun and interesting, quite creative as well. And, you know, the influence of Uranus in Taurus will amplify the spread of information, but also the spread of assets being gained as well, because Taurus actually rules the 2nd house, which is where Aquarius is right now. So it's definitely about money, self-worth, some sense of stability, and you're going to have to be thinking quite quickly for this as well, thinking fast. Basically, it's gonna be like, oh, throw this at you, I've got to think of something new and interesting because I cannot keep going on as I have. And I think that's interesting as well because the series of eclipses in Aquarius and Leo are kind of brand new for us as well over the past decade or so. Then March the 3rd, we have a lunar eclipse, full moon in Virgo, and that is going to be in your 9th house as well. And again, this is a recurring theme from last year. So this is actually ruled by Venus and Saturn, this particular decan, which is the 2nd decan because it's taking place at 12 degrees. Very, very analytical, almost stalkery, you know, really looking at the details. This is actually quite successful. It's associated with the 9 of Pentacles, which is a very successful tarot card. And it's successful because you put a lot of hard work in. So I think this is interesting as well because I'm trying to relate this to myself because I'm like, okay, academically, I've done this. I can see how it might work with releasing something, journal article, that kind of thing. So this can be travel, grades for anything you're studying. It can also be philosophy and higher ways of thinking. But also generally, especially with the Virgo element, just a bit more spiritual, like just more of a spiritual thing. You might feel like this is too good to be true. I don't want to let go of this because I don't know what to jump onto after I've let go of something, almost like you need a lifeboat. But this particular eclipse is going to teach you not to miss out on the fun in life, which ninth house does. The ninth house is fun, so it's kind of like, you know what, this is successful, let's enjoy the fun in life. Taurus right now as well, with Uranus and Taurus in that 5th house, kind of pushing that element on. I think you're definitely going to be celebrating something here, and then being like, you know what, life does not have to be on the grind all the time. As a Capricorn, I do not need to hustle all the time. The Sun and Mercury in Pisces in the 3rd house, trining Jupiter and Cancer in the 7th house again as well. Which are really nice for relationships as well, but just good for compassionate communication with yourself and others, and this understanding of a new start. It's a little bit more empathetic, I would say. And then Jupiter and Cancer in that 7th house, sextiling the Moon in Virgo in the 9th house as well, which feels like focusing on your routines, focusing on maybe traveling or trying to learn something new, but also at the same time, it's a good time to improve the decisions that you're making and the commitments you're making to yourself, and how you are looking at the world with a broader perspective as well. Then August 12th, we have a total solar eclipse new moon in Leo in the 8th house, which is a bit dicey, I'm not going to lie. So this is taking place at 20 degrees, which is the 3rd decan of Leo, associated with the 7 of Wands. 7 of Wands is very fiery. It's like, it's kind of like waiting for something to attack you and trying to defend yourself vehemently. So you have to stand up for yourself and not let others take advantage of you, especially when it comes to savings that you share with other people, where it's like, why are you taking so much money from me? We share an account here, or feeling like people are giving you bad financial advice. Intimately, somebody only wants you for lustful reasons and not for your, you know, for who you are as a person. But also feeling like, hang on, why is the universe just out to get me? It just feels like you're kind of under attack from all freaking ends, really, you know. I'm not looking forward to this one, that's for sure. It's also rivalry, competing with somebody as well, perhaps. You might be competing with someone for a lover, that kind of thing. So you're like, oh, what? It's a third party, you know? Generally very defensive, but also a confident energy of like you know, taking the higher ground. It's not going to be petty, but it's almost like I have to really hold my own and be assertive here. And your personality is going to have to be super strong as well. If we can see here, we have a kite formation. We have 2 kites. We have a grand air trine. So Pluto and Aquarius in that 2nd house, trining Uranus in Gemini in the 6th, then trining Venus in Libra in the 10th, and then going back again. So grand air trine, which brings a bit of logic to the situation, which I think is needed because Leo rules the heart. So everything's so passionate, we kind of can't see it. It's kind of like, I'm just going to scream for the sake of it. We need all that air energy to bring it down a little bit. The problem is that I'm mentioning is because Mercury is going to be in Leo, which takes everything to heart. I mean, flick back to the Mercury retrograde in 2025. Jupiter's expanding it within a 4-degree orb, making it even worse. And then you've obviously got the Sun and Moon in Leo as well. Mars in Cancer, which is just crying and screaming at the same time. You know, there is a lot of energy going on there. Now, you can see there's quite a few trines, so it's not the end of the world. Like, there's 2 opposites, and it's not the end of the world. Actually, it's quite good, but it's only really going to be good because you're standing up for yourself and you're fighting the good fight. You know, we can see here that Neptune's opposite Venus, making everything very clouded, and so it's going to be very hard to not only get your words out, but defend yourself in a way that feels confident. You might be trying to be confident, but I think ultimately your conviction needs to be very strong, otherwise you're going to lose the argument, or you're going to lose whatever fight you have to fight in this particular situation as well. And kite formations generally are quite transformative anyway, and then to have 2, you know, a grand air trine. Okay, August 28th, we have a partial lunar eclipse forming in Pisces. Not looking forward to this one because the last one I had last year was awful in the 3rd house. Yikes. Yeah, not the best thing. This is in the 1st decan of Pisces at 4 degrees, which is quite disappointed energy. It's disappointed that the world is not utopian. A full moon in Pisces is always going to be emotional and sensitive by nature, but with the lunar eclipse as well, it makes it a little bit more obsessive, or your thoughts become very attached to a specific thing, especially in the 3rd house where, you know, the mental energy is really strong. That can come with arguments and communication issues. And again, I'm talking from personal experience here. Mars still in Cancer as well, making everything a little bit more sensitive. And Saturn opposite Venus as well. So Saturn in Aries in the 4th house of Venus in the 10th house. Could even be an argument with a father figure or authority figure. I hope not. But there's some energy that's a little bit difficult. This is actually associated with the 8 of Cups, which is walking away from something you thought was going to work out. So again, it could be ending a period of communication with somebody because you're like, this is just not working out, we can't communicate properly. Ending a project or leaving a project because it's too much work, or maybe you can't afford to establish a kind of brand or something along those lines. You could also find that you're not able to do a short trip because something gets in the way or you can't afford it. And also academically, you might just think, what's this going to achieve? Just feels a bit like heavy shoulders. What's this going to achieve? What's this going to do? I feel disappointed. I'm walking away from this. With the Pisces energy as well, it's quite philosophical. It's not superficial energy. You're really putting thought into this, and it feels a little bit difficult for you. And actually the nodes are now in Aquarius and Leo as well. So that focus on the 2nd and 8th house as well has some contribution to the 3rd house because of how productive that 3rd house is. And so there's just a bit of energy there as well. And then of course Chiron being there in Taurus in the 5th house at 0 degrees, where you're like, can't express myself properly, kind of get the words out. That kind of energy is quite strong here as well. Okay, so I think that's the last eclipse of the year. So overall, Capricorn, I don't like to say that years are good or bad, because when people say, you told me we're going to have a great year, and then I'm like, maybe I like to do the shadow work, you don't, I'm going to give you the opportunities and the things that are happening. Of course, I think it's great with Jupiter still being in the 7th house for the first half of the year. Not really looking forward to it going in the 8th. I'm a little bit worried actually, but I think it'll be okay. Always depends what it's aspecting doing as well. I'm interested about the North Node going into the 2nd house of finances. I'm intrigued how that's going to affect me as well. And also I think the reflection of Neptune and Saturn being in Aries in the 4th house of the home and family is going to be quite good as well. So if I was putting aside Jupiter being in Cancer for the 7th house, I wouldn't really be saying this is a fantastically lucky year for you, Capricorn. I think you're putting in some work here and there's definitely some transformation, but you might be pleasantly unsurprised to hear as a Capricorn that there is going to be a money focus, which I don't dislike as a Capricorn rising in Venus. I'm like, you know what? I don't mind having a bit of focus on finances. I mean, I've certainly focused on it now. So I think that element's going to be even stronger, actually. So Capricorn, I hope you enjoyed that horoscope. Maybe give it a like if you enjoyed it, or pop down a comment and say what you're looking forward to. How was your 2025? Is there anything that you really want to achieve or anything you would like to focus on? And as always, I do have readings in my bio, but I also have this PDF horoscope as well for the whole year, which I spent a lot of time on. So I'm hoping that it's really enjoyable and very beneficial for you as well. So I hope you have a wonderful 2026. And as a Capricorn rising, whenever things go wrong, you can always think, Abigail is in the trenches with me right now as a Capricorn rising, but I really hope you have a wonderful year, and I'll speak to you soon.